प्रगती कशी हे होत चालली.
Dr. Bhairav, we are live on Facebook.
Is I am host now? So I welcome our today's moderator, Dr. Yashasri Kulkarni. It's our 8th day, and today is our eminent speaker, Dr. Kortikar sir. We welcome you all, and our eminent speaker with us, Dr. Kortikar sir, and our associate partner and organizer, Dr. Gaurang Joshi sir. I welcome you all, and I hand over this mic to Dr. Yashasri Kulkarni. Please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening and welcome all the respected Vaidyas, academicians, students, and listeners who have joined the session. Today is the last day, that is 7th day of this webinar series, Ayur Chintan 2020. We have attended last 10 sessions hereafter, and we have replenished our knowledge during the entire series. All the eminent and dynamic speakers had shared their knowledge and experiences with their views on lifestyle disorders, which had boosted our thoughts and pride. We have pride regarding Ayurveda. So today we have with us Dr. Kortikar sir to share their views. Before that, as our schedule is decided, we have to start with Dhanvantari Pujan and Stavan. So may I request Dr. Bhairav Kulkarni sir for the Dhanvantari Pujan. Namami Dhanvantarimadhidevam Suraivanditabadapadmam Loke Jararuk Bhayamrutyunasham Dataramisham Vividaushadhinam Shankham Chakram Jaloka Dadhat Amrutaghatam Charudorbish Sukshma Swachhatirudyam Shukaparivilasana Maulimambo Janetram Kalambodojvalangam Katitatavilasascharupitambaradhyam Vande Dhanvantarintam Nikhila Gadamiva Praudhadavagnililam Vande Dhanvantarintam Vande Dhanvantarintam. Jai Dhanvantari, Jai Ayurveda. Now I welcome today's our eminent speaker, Dr. Kortikar sir, and now I will feel proud to introduce our speaker, Dr. Lakshmikant Kortikar sir from Ahmednagar, Maharashtra. Dr. Kortikar sir is gold medalist during his graduations, and he is MD PhD Ayurvedacharya, practicing since last 27 years. He had presented more than 50 research papers at international and national conferences. He had published 5 books on Ayurveda. He received many awards. He did his research on Bij Shuddhi, a novel concept of Supraja, has placed forward by Dr. Kotikar sir by changing epigenetic, and you can design your baby. So I welcome Dr. Kotikar sir, and hereafter I hand over the mic to respected Dr. Kotikar sir. Over to you, Dr. Kotikar sir.
Thank you. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please, I want to option share my screen.
Yes, sir. You may share.
Okay.
No, you can share.
Yes, sir. You can share now.
Nachiket. Screen share नाही.
आता सांगतो ना, चालू करा.
हे मला फुल पाहिजे. Hello. It is certainly honor and privilege to present my topic on this platform. Very first, I thank Dr. Gaurang Joshi sir, Bhairav Kulkarni, and Ramdev Pandit for giving me such wonderful opportunity. I am thankful to all stalwarts from Ayurveda and non-medico from all parts of the world for joining this session. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Today is very auspicious day, Guru Dwadashi. I offer this prayer at lotus feet of Swami Savitananda. Today's topic is very interesting for medical students. They will get new sight. Researchers will get new topic for research, and non-medical will get pure knowledge. What is epigenetics? In 1942, an embryologist, Conrad Waddington, introduced this term epigenetics. It is the science that studies how your behaviors and environment can change your genetics. Dear friends, we are all unique because of epigenetics. Our color, type of hair, and many more things are differentiated because of our gene expression. Every human cell have a cell nucleus that have 23 pairs of chromosomes for a total of 46. If you took DNA from each cell and lined up, then it will be 6,000 million miles long. So these DNAs are very tightly packed around a protein called histone. DNA, that is ribonucleic acid, have 4 bases: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Epigenetic changes can be switch genes on or off and determine which proteins are transcribed. Here is an analogy that might further help you to understand epigenetics by a simple way. Think of a human life as a long movie. The cell would be the actors essential units that make the movie. DNA in turn would be the script, instruction to all participants' role. The concept of genetics would be screenwriting. Concept of epigenetics would be like a director. Script can be the same, but director can eliminate or twist certain scenes, altering the movie. After all, Steven Spielberg's finished product would be drastically different from Karan Johar's for the same script. Is it interesting? Due to epigenetic change, you may have bright kid or autistic kid. What are the birth defects? Ayurveda called them as Santana dosha. Baby may suffer from some abnormalities in anatomy and physiology are called as birth defects. These abnormalities may lead to mental and physical debilities or death also. Many healthy couples may have to face birth defected babies. This is the main situation as on today. What are the birth defects? We will see some of them. First, that is IUGR babies. Intrauterine growth retardation. Means growth of the fetus is less than normal. IUGR leads to abnormal delay in brain development. Every year, 30 million infants suffer from IUGR all over the world. Dear friends, in Ahmednagar district or in Ahmednagar city, every day 10 babies born, out of them 5 are shifted to NICU because of IUGR. It is scary. Microcephaly. Microcephaly is a condition where baby's head is too much smaller than expected. These babies have smaller brains. They may suffer from intellectual disabilities. Cleft palate. You may have seen such type of babies. Cleft lip and cleft palate are the birth defect occurs during 4th to 7th week of pregnancy. Affected baby have difficulty in feeding, swallowing, hearing, and speech. This problem can be corrected by surgery. Club foot. It is the birth defect in which one or both foot are reported inward and downward at ankle. Every year, 100,000 babies are born with clubfoot. 80% are untreated in developing countries. Fetal alcohol syndrome. When mother used to drink alcohol before and during pregnancy, her child have to suffer from fetal alcohol syndrome. It causes brain damage, growth problems. More than 6 million babies are affected all over the world by this birth defect. VSD, ventricular septal defect, is a congenital heart disease found in newborn. In 1 in 500 babies is born with this birth defect. It is surgically corrected. Have you seen these babies? Zika virus causes the serious birth defect like microcephaly, clubfoot, and brain problems. Zika infected couple must postpone their plan for a baby at least for 6 months to a year because they are prone to have these monster babies. Autism. Autism is a complicated condition that includes problems with communication and behavior. Autism spectrum disorder is a broad term used to describe group of neurodevelopmental disorders. 1 in 54 children has been identified with autism. It is very serious. We should notice this. Down syndrome. It is a genetic disorder also called as trisomy 21. Child is born with extra copy of chromosome number 21. This causes physical and mental developmental delay and disabilities. Congenital rubella syndrome. CRS is caused by rubella virus infection during pregnancy. These babies have low birth weight, developmental delay, macrocephaly, congenital cataracts, deafness, intellectual debilities, and so on. CRS babies having less life than 10 years. Leukemia in childhood. Leukemia is a hematological malignancy, that is blood cancer. Childhood leukemia is the most common cancer in childhood. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia is the most common thing. Short height. Due to malnutrition of pregnant mother and due to some disorders, height of the fetus becomes short. Indian men's height is decreasing from 165 to 160 centimeters, and Indian women's height is decreasing from 160 to 150 centimeters. It is a red flag for Indian. It is a typical birth disorder. It is called as phocomelia. It is a very rare birth defect. Infant born with severe short arms and legs, or they are completely absent. Main cause is thalidomide. It is a genetic inheritance. Dear friends, every year about 3 to 6% of infants worldwide are born with serious birth defect. That is about 8 million babies are born with birth defect. Out of them, 94% births occur in middle and low income countries. That is more serious. Friends, this is the most important side of my presentation. This is a graph of weeks of gestation versus risk of birth defects. If toxic exposure occurs in first 3 weeks, then embryo will get death. In 3 to 8 weeks are called as embryonic period. Most birth defects occur at this stage. From 8 to 40 weeks, if pregnant mother have exposure to teratogen, then baby will have less harmful birth defects like mental retardation. Many times, to define problem is a great problem. If you follow 5W1H method, then you can find the root cause. You can use this in all parts of your life. Now we will go for the causes why these birth defects are happening, and these are some causes by this epigenetics it changed. First, that is late age marriage. After 1980, there is a wave of late age marriages all over the world. Do you know late age pregnancy is having different risk of mother and baby? After age 30, some women have difficulty to conceive. Risk of pregnancy loss by miscarriage or stillbirth increases as you get old. Baby may have to suffer from anatomical birth defect to autism. Air pollution. This is a picture of capital of India at peak hours. Metro cities from all over the world are facing same problem of air pollution. Researchers found that this may lead to respiratory disorder to cancer. Now they have noticed that these pollutants may develop male infertility. This is a common practice all over the world. Pesticides are worst teratogens. In 1962, Rachel Carson wrote a book, Silent Spring. Then word came to know deadly side effects of pesticides on plants, animals, birds, and humans. Pesticides can cause infertility and abortions. IUGR, preterm birth, anatomical deformities, fetal death, and many more. Plastic. After Second World War, plastic is unavoidable part of our life. Wrapping and packing food product in plastic is a common practice. Dear friend, bisphenol A, that is BPA, is a chemical that get easy entry in our blood. BPA causes infertility, growth restrictions, and many more problems. Worst thing, BPA can pass to next generation without warning. Viruddhahar. This is the reference from Charaka Samhita about wrong food combination. There are 18 types of wrong food combinations. They may give rise to infertility to death. One word in this shloka is very important, that is Santana dosha, that is birth defects. Dear friends, Ayurvedic scholars were knowing wrong food combination may lead to birth defect. Malnutrition in mothers. Malnutrition in pregnant mother is a great problem. Due to malnutrition, fetus become underweight, dwarf, low immune. Do you know term FOAD? Researchers found the link of fetal origins of adult diseases. Low birth weight is linked to coronary artery disease, obesity, diabetes, and many more. Insomnia. Dear friends, sleep is the most important thing in our life. Ayurveda called sleep as a pillar of life. More than 50% people are suffering from sleep disorders. Insomnia increases risk of infertility in men and women. Insufficient sleep in pregnant mother leads to growth problem of baby. Everybody wants to look good and attractive. College going students are making cosmetic industry richer and richer. Do you know n number of chemicals goes in our body may act as a hormone disruptor. Because of these bad chemicals, women has to face hormonal imbalance, irregular menstruations, infertility, skin problems to cancer. We can't live without cell phone. Can you imagine life without it? Researchers found all over the world found a correlation between cell phone radiation and male infertility. These radiations reduces sperm quality, decreases sperm volume, decreases sperm concentration, sperm motility, sperm viability, also decreases rise in the male infertility. Every year, thousands of drugs are launched, but do you know their teratogenic effects? Some antibiotics, anticonvulsants, some cancer fighting medicines, some anti-rheumatic medicines, blood thinning agents, thalidomide, and many more are having teratogenic effects. Teratogen means substance which causes birth defects. So request your patients to avoid self-medication. Domestic violence. It may be named as intimate partner violence, that is IPV. IPV before and during pregnancy have adverse outcome. All over the world, women suffer from physical, emotional, sexual, and economical violence by their intimate partners. Researchers found that there is a close link between IPV and preterm birth, low birth weight, perinatal death, and risk of autism. Stress. It is an unavoidable part of our life. Stress before and during pregnancy give negative effects on baby. Low birth weight, developmental delay, learning and attention difficulties, even autism also. So be careful. Drinking alcohol before and during pregnancy on a regular basis creates serious health problem in babies. Miscarriages, preterm birth, low birth weight, heart defects, vision and hearing problems, all they are included in fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, that is FSAD. We have seen this slide before. Smoking. You will get number of research papers on teratogenicity of smoking. Due to smoking before and during pregnancy, there is a risk of infertility, abortions, preterm births, IUGR, cleft palate, club foot, VSD, and most worst part, that is grandmother of this smoking lady, grandchildren of this smoking lady may become autistic or infertile. Infections. Infection during pregnancy is a major cause of birth defect. Infection may give loss of pregnancy, stillbirth, or many more. You may know some of them, that is toxoplasma, cytomegalovirus, sexually transmitted disorders, rubella, Zika virus, and so on. Genetic disorders. Without asking you, they will get it into your body by your parents. Number of genetic disorders are reported like Down syndrome, thalassemia, sickle cell diseases, and so on. Friends, still we are not knowing 70% of them, they are causing birth defect. It is a very serious thing. Teratogen is a chemical or a substance that can cause birth defects. Teratology is a science that studies the cause of mechanism and patterns of abnormal development. Teratogen can kill the fetus, can give anatomical defects, may lead growth restrictions, can cause functional defects. Ayurvedic scholar described it as a garbhopaghatakar bhava. That is, things that create problems in fetus. So, preconceptional counseling is very important thing nowadays. Ayurveda. Up till now, we have seen what is epigenetics, what causes changes in epigenetics, how these changes can lead to birth defect. Now we will see how Ayurveda give answer to all these problems. Ayurvedic scholar define Shukra and Shonita, that is sperm and ovum, as a bij, that is seed. By this shloka, Charak Samhita, we came to know Ayurvedic scholars were knowing about genetics. यस्य सहि अंगावयवस्य बीजे बीजभागः उपतप्तो भवति तस्य तस्य अंगावयवस्य विकृतिः उपजायते नोपजायते चानुपतापः. Means it contains bija, bijabhaga, bijabhaga avayava are the fundamental entity which are responsible for reproduction. Bija refers to Shukra and Shonita, that is male and female gamete. Bijabhaga refers to parts of bija responsible for production of particular body part, that is chromosome. And bijabhaga avayava refers to part of bijabhaga, that is chromosome, that is gene. Charakacharya explained genetics in very shortly. Whichever bijabhaga or bijabhaga avayava gets abnormal, same will be manifested in growing fetus, right from birth defects to death of fetus. It is a theory, golden circle theory. Dear friends, if you define why to patient, then they will satisfy how we can change these birth defects and what should be done for that. In 1995, first technical bulletin on preconception care was published. For that, we have to take history of the patient. Whenever you go to Ayurvedic Vaidya for better progeny, he will take your detailed history of past obstetric, gynecological history, medical and surgical history, drug history, of allergic history, family history, especially for twins, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, birth defects, etc. Social history, history of systemic review, and case summary. Then Vaidya will go for Nadi Pariksha. It is an ancient Ayurvedic technique of diagnosis through pulse. It can accurately diagnose physical, mental, emotional imbalances as well as disease. Vaidya will assess your Prakriti also, that is your body type. Dinacharya. Chronobiology is the study of biological rhythm. Vaidya examines the effect of time on your internal biological clock. A circadian rhythm is a natural internal process that regulates sleep-wake cycle and repeats on each rotation of Earth regularly every 24 hours. Vaidya will describe you the dinacharya that will reset your body clock. For better progeny, you must reset your body clock. Deep restful sleep. The part of our brain which regulates sleep wake-up hormones is responsible for triggering fertility hormones. So, make your goal that you must sleep for 8 hours per night at least 90 days before conception. If you are having sleep problems, consult your Vaidya. He will do Shirodhara for that. That will be a very useful technique. Agni. In the context of your health, Agni refers to digestive capacity of your body. For proper functioning of our body, Agni is most important. Balanced Agni can help you to achieve healthy and long life. When you consume fast food, soft drinks on a regular basis, Agni cannot digest them. That creates a metabolic toxins called ama, which is the root cause of many disorders. So we have to balance the Agni by eating right food at right time when you are hungry. Vaidya will guide you how to balance your Agni. Panchakarma. It is the powerful tool for the removing the teratogens from your body. Before conception, Ayurvedic scholars suggest for Virechana and Basti Chikitsa. As per requirement, one can give Uttar Basti to female partner. Before conception, one must go for Panchakarma to clean the toxic load from the body. Ayurveda uses different medicines for better progeny. According to need of patient, Vaidya will choose the medicine. It may herbal or herbomedical. For example, Ashwagandha, Shatavari, Gokshura, Ashoka, Shilajit, Chavanprash, Falagruta, and so on. Phytonutrients. For changing epigenetics, these phytonutrients are extremely useful. For DNA methylation and histone modification, we can take apple, grapes, avla, kiwi fruit, orange, blueberries, pomegranate, tomatoes, beetroot, carrot, broccoli, cabbage, garlic, soya tofu, turmeric, ginger, green tea, and so on. Vaidya will advise according to your need and body type. Milk and ghee. For correcting the problem of Shukra and Oja in the male, Ayurveda suggests to drink milk fortified with special herbs that will give positive effect on Shukra Dhatu and Oja. This fortified milk is to be mixed with fortified ghee at least for 90 days before conception. That will enhance the Shukra and Oja of male partner. Ladies should consume gingerly oil, that is til oil, and masha, that is black gram, to purify the uterus. And for strong body, she must take at least these two things for 90 days as per advice of Vaidya. Curd rice. Before conception for 90 days, couple should have curd rice in their lunch. Curd is the best source of probiotic that will help and restore healthy gut microbes. Gut microbes. Dear friends, gut microbes play major role in maintenance of human health. Gut microbes are involved in progress of and development of many disorders. They give positive and negative effects of infant health and longevity. So we have to balance it gut microbes. Do you know this guy? He is Dr. Masaru Emoto. He do lot of research and proved that water has memory. So if you want to change your epigenetics, just say thank you to water from the bottom of heart and then drink that water. It is a simple technique and very effective technique. Your thoughts can change your epigenetics. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the famous writer of the book Biological Belief, says that for positive changes in your DNA, always think positive. Stay away from negative emotions. Your epigenetics will start changing. Ayurvedic scholars give a number of do's and don'ts for pregnant mother as they know this fact. Omkaram bindu sanyuktam nityam dhyayanti yoginah kamadam mokshadam chaiva omkaraya namo namah. Dear friends, we have seen many studies demonstrating epigenetic link and environmental stimuli. So if we try to give positive stimuli like Omkara Dhyanam, then you must get positive changes in epigenetics. Our experience says that mother who practices Omkara Dhyanam before and during pregnancy, baby are more intelligent and smart. Yoga. Number of scientists are doing research on yoga and epigenetics. The results are encouraging. Yoga group shows lower DNA methylation. The effect of yoga on baby have shown significant mind and body genetic link. Before conception, I request the couple for yoga practice at least for 90 days. Healing power of music. We can feel happiness when we hear our favorite song on radio. Dear friends, sound has subtle but profound effect on our body, mind and spirits. Today, please do one homework. Find 528 Hz DNA healing music and report me. If you are planning, you must hear this music. Emotional intelligence, anger, shame, guilt, anxiety, insecurity, selfishness, jealousy are the negative emotions that can unintentionally inherit to your baby. For the epigenetic reformation, emotional intelligence may play important role. One study find that one of the DNA methylation regulatory enzyme, DNMT3A2, can be influenced by positive emotions. If you are planning for a baby, then Ayurveda say no to smoking, alcohol and fast food. World Birth Defect Day is on 3rd March. This movement aims to move our collective efforts for raising awareness, surveillance, prevention, care, and research. You can put some flyers in your clinic. You can put a stall at different conferences for creating awareness about birth defects. You can call a conference for spreading knowledge in medico and non-medico persons about birth defects. I have published set of 2 books called Bij Shuddhi, Samartha Santatiche Rahasya. It is in Marathi language. Anybody wants to translate in Spanish, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Portuguese, do contact me. Dear friends, this is a review of global epigenetic market. It is up to 7.89 billion US dollars. So now you will think epigenetics is very important. It is an increasing demand for personalized medicine. It is used for prevention of cancer, prevention of birth defects, and this marketing is increasing like anything. I wish you very happy Diwali and prosperous new year without COVID. Thank you for your patience listening. Thank you organizers for this great opportunity, and thank you the listeners. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank you, Dr. Kotikar sir, on behalf of our organizers, that is Atharva Life Science Academy and Research Foundation Rajkot, directed by Dr. Gaurang Joshi sir, and also Sri Siddhivinayak Ayurved Panchakarma Center, Aurangabad, directed by Dr. Bhairav Kulkarni sir. Also on behalf of our associate partners, that is Ashwin Rural Ayurved College, Manchi Hills, and Brahma Chaitanya Ayurved, and our international partners, Ahimsa, Salamanca, Spain, Nourish Doc, San Francisco, USA, Yogic Yoga and Ayurveda, Gran Canaria, Spain. So thank you so much, sir. And sir, there are some questions.
Yes.
May I ask this, sir, now?
No problem. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, the question is suggestion for the administration of Panchamrut in Shukra Vriddhi by you, sir. Suggestion for the administration of Panchamrut.
Yes. There are number of different dietary module to increase Shukra Dhatu. Panchamrut is one of them. That is definitely good. One can consume on daily basis before pregnancy for at least 90 days. Both partners.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And one more question is there. Does subliminals hearing is useful on YouTube's?
Pardon? I'm not getting your question.
Okay, sir. Just a minute. I will repeat it. Does subliminals really work? Subliminal frequencies on YouTube.
Yes. Definitely. It is a very great type of research. You must go through that.
Okay.
I have give a homework today to search for these frequencies, because of scientists have noticed that this frequency can change your DNA. So
Okay.
if you hear these sounds on a regular basis, that can give a positive effect on your DNA. That will change your epigenetics.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And sir, last question. Sir, it's a request to you. Please stop your screen sharing. So we may have your full screen or your full. Yes, thank you so much, sir. Is autism can be treated with the help of Ayurveda?
Basically, we can treat it, but I will suggest that before treating that, you should avoid this. Prevention is better than cure.
Okay, okay, sir. So we have to counsel the couple to
Yeah.
avoid and to take the Garbha Samskar or during pregnancy or before pregnancy,
Yes, yes, yes.
counsel them.
I am giving more emphasis on pre-conception counseling.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. You have suggested us that we should not use plastics, how plastic is dangerous in forming genetic disorders, which we are going to use regularly, and also for women to avoid so much use of beauty products, which we should have to avoid or we should have to control or we should have to replace it by herbal or
Yes,
Ayurvedic
yes.
products. Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Bhairav Kulkarni, sir, will felicitate Dr. Kortikar, sir. This is
Sir, namaskar.
Namaste.
Thank you very much, sir. You join us and share your knowledge over here in the international platform. And may I request our organizer, Dr. Gaurang, sir, with me to felicitate Dr. Kotikar, sir. Before that, sir, one question is there. So if you permit, then I ask one question for you, if
Yeah.
you permit. One question. Sir, some explanation want about Garbha Samvad.
Yeah. Basically, when you start Garbha Samvad on every day, it is in Garbhini Paricharya. You have a good rapport of your child and child feels secure. For that, Garbha Samvad is very essential. We ask to uh, train the mother for Lori or Angai before going to sleep. So that baby having a feeling whenever mom is out, then Angai or Lori in mother's voice play a great role. Garbha Samvad is very essential for the healthy kid.
thank you, sir. So I think there is one more question in the chat box. I just check it out.
Sir, is musical therapy is health?
Yes,
Is musical therapy is
yes,
health?
definitely. Music is very essential part of our life. You go to any corner of the world, there is music. Uh, in a conference, I came across a Israeli researcher. They say that when a lady got pregnant in Israel, she start class of violin. She start class of piano. Why? Because of that, that kid is having a special brain, some special capacity of the brain. Then they join archery, Dhanurvidya. Because of that, the child develops pinpointed concentration. Nowadays, you can observe that concentration or attention of a child is less than a goldfish cold, that is 8 seconds. Child cannot concentrate more than 8 seconds on object. So a pregnant lady, if she join archery class, then that will be beneficial for them. It is Israel research.
Okay, sir. One more question is there. Sir, you have said that water will be effective and very simple technique.
Yes.
Yes, sir. How it works or how it works on epigenetics or
Yes, definitely. Very good question. I have seen the picture of Dr. Masood Emoto. He is no more with us. He carried a number of experiment of water. By just saying thank you to water, water molecule has changed its structure. So if you want to change the structure of water, then you should go for some positive emotions, positive words to water. And if you consume that water, that will be very easiest thing for changing epigenetics.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Sir, our one of the listener want to ask something you. If you permit, I will make him a
No problem.
co-host. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Vasekar, sir, you may ask the question. Mr. Kishan Vasekar, sir, you have to unmute yourself. Or you can put your question on. Okay,
Yeah, now
okay. Yes,
are you
yes,
able to
yes, sir. Yes, sir, yes, sir. You are audible,
Thank
sir,
you.
now.
Thank you, Yashasri. And thank you very much, Dr. Kotikar. I just have some sort of experience to be shared, and it is in line with what has happened. Maybe another 5 minutes, I will tell you my story. I am now 66, and I had a heart attack at 58 when I was in Reliance. I collapsed. After that, within 2 hours, the clot was removed by operation. Then it was the beginning of a long saga, and I was almost 35 days in ICU in the topmost hospital in Mumbai. Both kidneys failed, and it was horrible. I could not just, of course, think about anything. I was in a dazed condition. When the kidneys failed, doctors said it is practically impossible to recover. Heart is very weak. The left ventricle ejection factor went up to 35%. So we were all in, what to do, big problem. But then they started dialysis. When they started dialysis, somehow I picked up all my spiritual strength, all my strength, and we started praying also. I remembered how Bhagwan Dhanvantari told Ram to all those people, Hanumanji also, to bring Sanjeevani. So I visualized that Sanjeevani is being brought, and I focused on my kidneys, because kidneys are like ultra micro filtration. I'm a chemical engineer from IIT Bombay. So I told my nephrons to, get rid of that, whatever is poison has happened, and that level went up to 5.6 creatine level. I chanted mantras. I can recite hundreds of mantras. I was initiated by my guru in 1982. So I visualized that creatine is coming down, and it was a miracle that both kidneys recovered. And then after that, then another thing happened. I went into a coma.
My
For
goodness.
4 days, I was on a ventilator. It was almost gone case, and nobody knew what to do. My daughter is a doctor. She came from US. My son-in-law is cardiologist. And then all of it, on fourth day, I had a vision of Swami Samartha. And then I was revived by him. Basically, I was chanting Mrityunjay mantra. I have chanted it hundreds of thousands of times, and I had a lot of Mrityunjay mantra yajna also. So I really thought that Yamadut just made me namaskar and went away. To be frank, you can't believe it. And then after 30, 40 days, I started recovering. For almost 1 year, I was on walking with sticks and all that. Then I was in that time in Mumbai, so we shifted to Navi Mumbai, both of us, myself and my wife. Of course, I could not work, so I gave up the job. Children were supporting me, but all are in USA. And then after 1 year, I started reading, and my heart ejection factor was 36%. Doctor said it will take a lot of time to recover. They were giving all sorts of medicines. Then I started studying Ayurveda also. So I joined one Ayurveda for 2 cycles of Panchakarma I completed. And then as a chemical engineer, what I realized is that cholesterol, they were giving statins medicines. And believe me, in spite of all doctors telling me, I decided to stop it, because I had so many problems, muscle pains. I was not able to even move my hand and legs. I stopped my cholesterol medicine statins 8 years back. Probably I am the first in the world to do it logically, scientifically, and even now all the doctors say, yes, they may not be useful. Even many cardiologists say, okay, we don't know what the cholesterol's role is. So after that, I started recovering with 2 states of this, and I was able to walk almost 20 minutes after 2 years, and my heart ejection factor went up to 48%. Then I moved to Aurangabad. I moved to Aurangabad, my native place. Both of us are now in Aurangabad, and we are very near to Dr. Bhairav Kulkarni. I met him, and then under his guidance also I'm taking regularly treatment, Panchakarma treatment. And today, after all that, I decide, like, even if you are saying, I just chant the mantra, Akal Mrityu Harnam Sarva Vyadhi Vinashram Vishnu Padodakam Tirtham Jatare Dharmyayamayam. All, and then I study heart, allopathy, modern medicine, Ayurveda, yoga, pranayam, everything. So I meditate at 5 a.m. every day, do yoga, pranayam, exercise, diet, purification. I have given up ice cream in 1 minute by using Bhagavad Gita. And I'm talking on how to use Bhagavad Gita in daily life for recovery from the heart. And on the top of it, I was doing very well. Then I started going to USA. We visit USA every year. Then in 2019, in October, I had a stroke when I was in USA. And believe me, within 10 minutes, I was admitted. Because I was in USA, it is another divine intervention. My life is a divine intervention. I was in the hospital. I was treated on 3rd day. I was discharged 4th day. And 95% I'm recovered today. There is only 5% deficit in my left hand and speaking slightly, which I think Dr. Eknath Kulkarni, I just talked to him, I will recover 100%. It is another miracle. And now, today I'm speaking in front of you. I'm trying to do one thing, which you can really, which we all can do. I have developed a 5M, my PEDA formula. My M5, PEDA. M5 is meditation, music, massage, mudra, and mudra. This 5M, I'm using music, like you have said. IIT Kanpur has done a research on Rag Darbari Kannada. I have the research papers. I talked to that professor, and it can really, they have collected EEG formats and given this Rag Darbari. And based upon that, I found out the songs. Many ragas are good for health. So I made a playlist of those songs, like Rag Darbari Kannada for heart and for khamas, for digestion and all that. That's what they say. So I don't know the music, so I collected the ragas and I go on singing it. Like I listen to Rag Malcolm's songs while sleeping. And they have tremendous impact. And I have integrated each my activity right from the beginning, getting up to the night with mantras. Like when I get up, I automatically say, mantra. When I eat, I just start Aham Vaishwanara Bhutva. I so integrated everything with mantra. And I visualize that mantras are working. Recently, I had some sort of a breathing trouble. So I visualized that corona is going away. So I wanted to start with this mantra. Om Rum Rudrai Roganashaya Dhanvantare Fat Swaha. See, this is a mantra I go on reciting. And I believe that, and I visualize as if all corona is running away. I have got so many shlokas from Bhagavad Gita also. To sum it up, I can also say that if you can integrate all this meditation, yoga, pranayam, exercise, and diet purification, and ahar shuddhi, I go on studying Bhagavad Gita and Ayurveda together, we'll find that we can overcome many diseases. Heart disease, my daughter is cancer specialist also. I told her we can really recover from the cancer if we can integrate all these medicines and reduce the medicine.
Sorry for disturb, Dr. Kishan sir.
I'm just taking 1 minute.
Please
now, 1 minute.
stop.
1 minute. 1 minute. I'm completing. So to sum it up, what it means is that if you have a balanced approach to lifestyle, including Ayurveda, we can really we can prevent, cure, and reverse the heart disease, cancer, and anything. And as in Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Yukta Ahara Viharase Pachashta Karmasu Yukta Swapna Vadase Yoga Bhuti Yukha. Thank you very much. We can really make Ayurveda as a great to improve the immunity and beat the corona. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Vasegar Kaka. Thank you so much. It's the faith of Ayurveda. It is your faith on Ayurveda, and it is the Ayurveda. What Ayurveda can do, we can see. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
So now I request Dr. Gaurang Joshi sir and Dr. Bhairav Kulkarni sir to felicitate Dr. Kotikar sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Eknath Kulkarni. Sorry, Lakshmikant Kotikar sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kotikar sir, for your valuable, insightful speech on epigenetics of Ayurveda. We are looking forward to see you again on this platform.
Definitely.
And kindly join us tomorrow.
Definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gaurang Joshi sir. Now I am very pleased to introduce our next eminent speaker, Dr. Ashish Paul ma'am. Dr. Ashish Paul is one of very few herbalists educated in both Ayurvedic and Western medicine. Dr. Ashish ma'am is passionate about educating people regarding the advantages of combining the ancient practice of Ayurveda with the benefits of Western medicine. Also, Dr. Ashish works closely with the patients in the area of infertility. Dr. Ashish ma'am's approach is natural and holistic, using both Ayurvedic and Western herbs to help create the ideal suited to today's demanding modern lifestyles. So I welcome Dr. Ashish Paul ma'am. She is from London, UK. So thank you for being with us. Over to the Dr. Ashish ma'am.
Okay, warm Ayurveda greetings to everybody present here. Thank you so much, Yashashri, for your introduction, and I'm pleased to be here. Apologies, couldn't come here earlier. Was with a patient before, so yeah. So I'm here, and as always, it's a pleasure to be sharing what my experience of Ayurveda is in UK, because that's where I practice from, Harley Street, which is in central London. Right now it's online mainly. And yes, that's true that one of my main areas that I work with patients is fertility, and I do work with both men and women equally. Mainly women are the ones who end up having more treatments or more therapy work, but I am open to work with both, and I do start working with both the partners. And as the topic for today is about, the lifestyle disorders, that how is our lifestyle affecting a lot of things, affecting our health. Perhaps this is just an inquiry into how our lifestyle is affecting our fertility. And I do not like to use the word infertility, because I don't think anybody is infertile. We are fertile in many ways, not just only in producing children. So for me, it's a fertility journey that patients are on when they come to me and that they want to get pregnant. And how can I help them and support them? So a few things I want to highlight. And I think especially because us as Ayurvedic practitioners who are talking about holistic medicine, where we are looking at the whole person, doesn't matter what that person is suffering from or comes to us with a label of, especially to do with infertility or especially to do with fertility rather. So it is to be looking at everything that that person has and how that all of the areas in that person's life is affecting the fertility journey for them. And I also really admire, the new paradigm that we are looking into, and many of us practice that way, is integrative medicine or integrated medicine, where we use modern medicine, Ayurveda, any other system. The idea is for the patient to get well for their well-being is the main motive. Doesn't matter how we get there, but integrative medicine for me is about that holistic perspective where the well-being of that patient is looked after. So same way, I think more than any other times, we need to be looking at integrative approach and lifestyle approach towards fertility issues as well, because I think most of the women end up having the treatments even when it is a male partner's issue in fertility. And in cases of fertility, it's 50-50. 50% of the cases are due to men's problems. It could be anything to do with the man's issues, sperm count, low motility, and other issues. But it's almost 50%. Men are responsible, 50% women's issues are responsible. So when it is, shared that way, we need to be looking at what is it that is causing in their lifestyle, what is it is causing them to have that issue that they are not able to conceive. So, and I have seen many a times patients where when it's a man's issue, still when we start doing treatments and therapies, especially I work a lot with IVF patients, it's the woman who is taking all the medicines. And what we need to keep in mind is that all the or most of the medications that we are giving for IVF are hormonal, which means they are steroidal in nature. And I've seen studies and looked into the effects, after effects of fertility medicines, not 5 years, not 10 years, up to 20 to 25 years. I mean, fertility, IVF is about 40 years old. So they have done studies looking at the impact of fertility medications and overall impact of IVF on, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, up to even 20 to 25 years later. And this is not in the patients where IVF was unsuccessful. Even when IVF is successful, even when the couple ends up having children, maybe one or more than one, they still have the impact of IVF, the whole journey of IVF, yeah, especially the women. They still feel that trauma. It is very traumatic to go through IVF process because the main reason, because the IVF is like chronic stressful situation. It's not, it's not a matter of a week or 2 weeks. It's sometimes, and many of my patients have been with me for a year and a half before they actually have a baby. And that's a long time to be under stressful situation. And also, especially with fertility, it is a matter of, is it going to happen this time? Is it going to happen this time? You are under that constant mindset, which is causing you all of that stress. So this is just a backdrop to why we need to be looking at our lifestyle when we talk about fertility medicine. And I always say this to modern medical doctors, also the consultants that I work with, is the success rate overall of IVF is between 30% to 50%. Yeah. And that 50% is when there has been number of attempts been done for IVF. It's not first time or second time, maybe fourth or fifth time. So 4 or 5 IVF cycles, which is quite a lot. And my suggestion always to them is, if they use Ayurvedic medicine, if they use natural medicine, if they use lifestyle medicine or lifestyle intervention, then the chances are that the success rate will increase. Yeah. That is why we need to be looking at the lifestyle. And I'm just going to go through a few pointers, especially from Ayurvedic perspective, which I talk to about, with my patients as well. All those things I work with my patients also. And I think we should be looking at that. And one of the most staggering things for me is that even the IVF clinics in India do not necessarily use Ayurveda alongside. And I just cannot find any reason why they don't do that. Here, yes, we can say, they don't have the advantage, they don't know Ayurveda enough. That's why they don't use it. But I don't understand why even medical doctors in India who are doing IVF, why they are not using Ayurveda, which is right there at their doorstep. So a few things that we need to look at from fertility, the things that are affecting our fertility. Yeah, most of the most common thing that medical doctors are looking at is the hormones. Are the hormones good? Are the tubes patent? Tubes open or not? Is the uterus working or not? The uterine lining is thick or not? So these are the common ones that medical doctors are looking at. I have questions here in the chat. I will come to them once I'm just finished talking. Thank you so much for your questions. Where was I? Yeah, so hormonal issues is what we look at. And I have given a lot of thought to hormones, obviously, given the work that I do, is that your hormones cannot just function on their own. Right? Our hormones are in every single interaction of our cellular interaction in our body. So if I think that I can be completely overly stressed about my work situation and then think that my hormones are going to behave really well, I'm taking a hormonal medicine. Even with hormonal medicines, hormones may not behave exactly in that window as you want them to, because we are not looking at other factors that affect our hormones. We know about the link between the hormones and the stress levels, and also our thinking patterns. What is our mindset? How do we approach life? Because all of that has an impact on your hormones, right? People who are under stress, constant stress of any kind, whether it's a work stress, whether you have a long journey commute to your work, or whether you have a home situation which is very stressful, and I have seen this practically in men where they cannot even perform, and I've seen this in women where they do not find it appealing to have sex, which is one of the pre-requirements to conceive. So all of these factors in our life are also affecting hormones. So I think it is very conservative view to be looking at our hormones just as, okay, these are the hormones and we need to, if the estrogen is low, let's just give estrogen. If the progesterone is low, let's just give that. But even giving all of those, still sometimes we are not able to see the results. And I've seen this with IVF patients where they're taken the stimulation, even after the stimulation, which is to enhance the number of cells, egg cells that they're producing, they're still not producing as many. And this is when you are giving such hard drugs to the patient without actually looking at their lifestyle, right? So this is to do with hormones. And I think, and I always say, without balancing your life, you cannot balance your hormones. They cannot function in vacuum. Our hormones are functioning in our body. They're connected to our mind. They're connected to our emotions. They're connected to how we behave every single day. The other thing that is crucial in terms of our lifestyle is the diet, right? So where else can we go better than Ayurveda, which says sometimes in certain cases, diet is the medicine, yeah? So if we are having good diet, we don't necessarily need medicine. If we are having bad diet, medicine, even the best medicine will not even work. So we are not really looking at diet of men and women, what they're eating and how that is impacting the fertility. Yeah. So a few things within the diet is, one is the high calorie diet that many of us are used to, that people are eating. Secondly, the sugar that we have, and the hidden sugar and the obvious sugar. Obvious sugar is the one that you might be eating in your food. And the hidden one is if you're used to eating canned food or processed food, how much sugar is hidden in there. Biggest disruptors of hormones is the sugar. And secondly, the chemicals that we use in our household, all the cleaning products that we have, the bleach, the car cleaning solutions, the other cleaning solutions that you're using inside the house, unless you're using completely natural products. they are the biggest disruptors of hormones. And obviously, women are the one who are, this is not to be sexist, I'm just giving a trend here, that women are the ones who are cleaning a bit more, so they have more chances of inhaling those and having their hormones disrupted at some level. The third thing is if you are a heavy meat eater, so you, especially if you eat a lot of red meat, even when it is organic, it is still disrupting your hormones. So from diet perspective. The other thing is about eating at the right time, which is what Ayurveda says. Yeah. And I think we don't talk about this enough. I mean, I talk about it a lot, and I don't find this a lot of us talking about it. If you can have the best food in the world, but if we are not eating at the right time, according to our Agni, according to the digestive capacity that we have, doesn't matter what kind of good food you have, you are not going to get the best benefit out of it. And we are made by our foods. We are made by the foods that we eat and the foods that we can digest. Yeah. If we are eating all the good food, but all the good food is just going out and we are not able to absorb the nutrition out of that, then it's of no use. So that, you know, and then the impact of our mindset, the impact again of how we eat our food. What are we happy when we eating our food? Do we have a good relationship with food? I've seen so many people who have, you know, really emotional relationship with food. When they are not happy, people are eating more or they're not eating at all. And that's not a healthy relationship to have. Also, the kind of people that we eat with, the kind of, you know, the energy that we are putting into the food when we are cooking the food, all of that is a factor. And I'm not sure how many of us are able to put that thought behind every meal that we have, how much mindful we are of the food that we are eating. And that is definitely going to have an impact on your hormones. That is definitely going to directly have an impact on how your fertility will behave. So too much weight is also an issue. Too little weight is also an issue for hormones. Yeah. In either case, we need to be balancing weight, and that balanced weight is different for different person. You cannot have just single set or range of weight, because it is according to your body size, it's according to your shoulder width, and also according to what's your height. So all those factors we need to be looking at least those of us who want to look at fertility in a holistic perspective. Then the next thing is the lifestyle that people have. You know, how are you living your whole day from the morning till evening? Are the things happening in the right order? What kind of work do you do? How do you go to work? How is your work environment? Is it making you stressed out completely, or is it relaxed enough? How is your home environment? Are you exercising enough or not? Are you taking any excessive, perhaps you are taking drugs, even if it is for recreational purposes, even if it is small amount, whether that is affecting or not. Smoking, drinking also affects. Smoking has a direct effect, especially for men, on their fertility. We have seen that. Also, certain jobs, for example, can make sperms, if you work in an environment which is way too hot for you and your body, especially for you, around your pelvis, then that can also incapacitate the sperms and can have sperm defects, you know, leading on to fertility issues. So your lifestyle has to be accordingly, so that, you know, overall that is helping and supporting you in fertility. The other thing that I think probably no medical doctor probably will be looking at is the breathing. Yeah. Perhaps as Ayurvedic practitioners, we are used to breath work, we are used to pranayam, and we do recommend it to all our patients and clients, like I do for all my fertility clients. However, most of us are not looking at that. And just to give you few statistics, please don't quote me on these because it's not exact, but roughly about 90% of the people do not breathe well. They don't know how to breathe very well. Generally speaking, people breathe from one side of the nostril more than the other side, which means we are not cleansing both sides of our nadis. We are not having enough oxygen going to both parts of our brain. So breathing and then your breath also affects how much oxygen you are carrying into your system. And the major thing that IVF is right now focusing on, and one of the things, my whole protocol is based on that, is to bring so much oxygen, to bring all that antioxidant effect into your body with herbs, with your lifestyle, with your breathing, with your food, with your therapies, to do that Rasayana effect. Because one of the things that they are finding why eggs and sperms are not they are not behaving as well, or not producing good results, or not performing well in terms of fertility, is because there is not enough energy in the mitochondria of the eggs and sperms, right? So they are aging much faster. And that has to come down to the overall effect of all the things that we have in our lifestyle, and breathing being one of them. When we don't breathe very well, we are not cleansing our blood, because eventually at the level of the cell, the exchange of gases is also the cleansing process that is happening. And if we are not breathing enough, we are not breathing optimal, we are not able to do that, right? So that, and one last thing, as everybody says, stress is the buzzword. We talk about stress. And stress is there, and especially, as I mentioned before, in terms of fertility, that stress becomes really chronic, because fertility window is only about 48 hours every month. Yeah. Once a month, you have a window of 48 hours within which you can naturally conceive. And even when you're working with IVF, you still have to kind of work with that window and enhance your body to produce many more eggs. And then when you have to put them back into your system around that window again, right? Because that's the nature of the body. So it is a process. If you miss this month, then it goes to next month. There's nothing you can do in between, right? And that's why the stress of going through IVF now, many of the doctors are recommending it to be called as PTSD, which is post-traumatic PTSD, post-traumatic syndrome disease, I think it's called, which is when the stress is so chronic. And then even when you have removed the stress factor, that your body still behaves that way, which is the study I was mentioning to you before, that even years later, if you talk about IVF process, people don't like to talk about it, especially when it has been unsuccessful, when they haven't got any children out of the process, because it's too traumatic to talk about it emotionally for them. So stress factor causes that high level of cortisol. High level of cortisol then is affecting your hormones directly for men and women both. And then cortisol is affecting all other parameters as well. It is affecting your blood sugar level and insulin, and then in turn is affecting your hormones again, right? So as you can see, it's all intricately interwoven. Everything connects to everything in our body. And that is why looking at lifestyle is crucial for fertility. It is not just only to be looking at one single hormone and think, okay, we're going to give you hormone and then it will work straight away. Because if that was the case, then IVF would be successful 100% of the time, but it's not. Success rate of IVF maximum in certain clinics is about 50%. Yeah. Right. So I think from my point of view, these are the few factors in and around people's lifestyle and in our daily living that we need to be looking at in order to look at how we can enhance fertility for people going forward. Of course, age matters a lot, especially women's age. Men's age also matter, but women's age matters more in terms of fertility issues. And that also is, it's different from different countries, because I have seen some of the patients and even family members where they are under 30 or around 30, and according to India, they are quite late in getting pregnant, right? If you look at the Western world, 30, nobody will be thinking about having kids. It will be around 33, 34 is when women start to think about having kids. So I think there is a cultural issue as well, because one of my relative has mentioned, oh, my doctor said you were too late. And I said, from what standard, right? So I think that doesn't help. According to me, that doesn't help. When we tell our patients that, because these things are cultural as well, so not necessarily medically true, but there is, according to hormones and according to women's, how the fertility works, after 35, it does start to decline rapidly. And in certain ethnicities, it declines much more rapidly, as, for example, India, Pakistan, Asia, because the ethnic pool that we have of genes is not as strong as compared to maybe Western world. So yeah, these are the few things I think we need to be looking at. And I do look at all these pointers when I talk about fertility, and this is how I practice. And then, of course, we have specific herbs, specific therapies, which can work with, to enhance those specific things in patients. But even then, I don't know if you have, how many of you work with fertility patients, but I think it's one of those areas of medicine where even after doing that much work, after spending that much money, you still do not have any guarantee that you're going to get a kid at the end of an IVF process, right? Because if you I don't know, spend all that money and go for an appendix operation, you know that you're going to get well after that operation. But with IVF, there is no guarantee. And that, I think, purely because we are not looking at overall how all other factors of our life are affecting fertility. We are way too conservative in thinking that fertility is only in our sexual organs or only in the fertility organs. It's not. It's everywhere in our body. And that's why we need to look at all these pointers that I have just spoken about. I think, thank you so much. I think I'm done as far as my lecture is concerned. I'll just come to your questions one by one. Is this okay? Everybody okay? Anybody wants to ask a question face to face? Otherwise, I'll go through the ones I have in the chat.
Yes, ma'am. We will have the questions in the chat box first, and then we will have the one by one face-to-face questions.
Okay, great. Dr. Vishali said, really should give a, Vaidya Shaha Rahul, is male infertility related with pre-genetics? What is pre-genetics? Sorry, please explain so that I'm not talking about something completely different. Vaidya Shaha Rahul? Okay, I'll go to the next question. Please, if you can reply to me, or we can have a chat. Next one, Vishali, really should give a thought about stress through the IVF journey. I agree, and it should be treated as such. There is not much support is given to men or women or to the couple overall going through the whole of IVF journey. Some IVF clinics, they offer counseling. They offer, maybe you can go for a therapy, but it's not a part of their protocol. It's only if you want to. There are only very few practitioners. I work with 2 consultants, IVF consultants, and they are really, they really advise their clients, give them kind of a pep talk, tell them that please look into this. This can really help you. Otherwise, doctors are not doing that, or IVF doctors are not really advising, but it should be, because stress is a major, major factor. The next one, Vaidyaranjan Patankar. Hello. In my opinion, India is a common problem male partner not to go for a test. It's a problem everywhere, not just only in India. Indians abroad are still the same. In my opinion, IVF is mental torture for that lady. As you and Kotika say, counseling is, yeah. So counseling is required. I think, you know, Ayurveda has this beautiful system of what we call Garbha Sanskar. Yeah. So the moment you start to think about having a family, about extending your family and about having a child is the time when you really need to sit and align your thoughts. Most of the people, most of the women who end up into IVF clinics, many of them haven't even had a good hearty chat with their partners. They don't know whether the partner wants a baby or not. And I have had people sitting in my clinic where I'm looking at their faces and you can tell they don't agree. And that energy is not going to be the same if both partners do not put an effort into, because a child, having a child is a joint venture. One person can't do it, and you have to be committed 100%, not just in producing that child but also in looking after that child. So when I do consultations with my clients, I like to, unless they really object, and the ones who object are mostly Indian men who object not to come to consultation, right? Is to sit with them, talk to them, ask them, have you thought about why do you want to have a kid?
Yes.
Your reason to have a kid. Just because your neighbor is having a child, your brother is having a kid is no good reason for you to have children. Do you have enough mental capacity? Do you have enough financial capacity to be able to look after the babies that you're going to bring into this world, right? Because it's going to take all of those resources to raise them. First, you don't even know whether you're going to be successful in having a child or not, right? So that journey in itself can be quite daunting and tiring. So I agree that I think men overall need to be more forthcoming and going for the test and getting everything checked. But yes, you are right in saying that they don't. Next one, Kishan. Hello. How much state of mind like happiness, energy affect the balancing of hormones which are critical to fertility? Will meditating together help, of course, absolutely, absolutely. So I do meditation sessions with my clients, and I like that both partners do it together. So I teach them how to do it. I do visualization techniques, chanting, meditation, NLP sessions, which is neuro-linguistic programming, working with their mindset. And then for them to do it every day amongst them. And some couples are brilliant, they learn it because they can record these sessions and then play them afterwards and work on that. I mean, I'm just recently seeing a patient. We did this when there wasn't lockdown. We did a session together of NLP, and she said that was the most impactful thing that she had done in terms of fertility, right? So you are absolutely right. Your happiness, your energy state, how do you feel internally? How confident you are, how satisfied you are with the overall process. Because especially I feel, because the onus is more on the women to carry that pregnancy. So it is more important for that woman to feel comfortable through that process, for her to feel more happier through that process, and also to have that, really aligned interaction with their partners. So it is utmost importance. And I do talk about that with my patients for sure. Vaidya Ranjan, I think again, please explain about the importance of Dincharya and Ritucharya in infertility. I think what I spoke about before is part of that. Dincharya and Ritucharya is my most favorite things to talk about, because I think there is so much wisdom in that. And also, especially for women, to teach Dincharya and Ritucharya to our younger girls, and also to talk to them about good menstrual health, and to talk about certain pointers. I mean, I have seen women, going through IVF. They are probably 40 plus or around 40. they have no idea of what cervical mucus is, which meant no wonder that they ended up in IVF, because they never knew what their fertile window was, right? That's just one example to tell you that how much women do not know even about their own bodies, and how we should be teaching about that. So Dincharya and Ritucharya, utmost importance in fertility for both men and women, because Dincharya is crucial to balance our hormones. And we cannot, we cannot just all of a sudden start balancing our hormones. If we are so used to getting stressed out and we haven't got coping mechanism to keep ourselves calm through that process, no breathing technique, no mindset technique, then just working on hormones is not going to work alone, right? So I am with you, Dr. Ranjan. Dincharya and Ritucharya should be explained and taught to every single patient of fertility. Next one is Eat with Sun and Moon. That is based on Indian calendar, Panchang. Many Indian Hindus fast on Chaturthi, I think. I think it is very
Chaturthi.
Yeah, intermittent fasting. I agree. All of these fasting processes that we have, some of them have become more religious. When I talk about these different fasts, I don't talk about religious aspect of it. In my practice, I like to keep it as a religious as possible, so that it's open for everyone to use it. But you can, if you want to, and fasting that way, one day of the week, if you are if you are aligned that way, that you like to keep it with the nature or with the certain deities, you can do that. But I agree, in terms of the methods that we have in Ayurveda and even in our religious terms, they are very effective. If we only just do that and eat according to that, it is very effective. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. I used to chant many mantras during pregnancy. Now I tell to suggest specific mantras. Yes, we should. So mantras also, because as I said, I do meditation sessions, so I chant mantras as well. To keep it simple, sometimes I only do Om chanting because it is very simple and effective. Unless person is that aligned and they know certain mantras, if you don't know the language, then mantras will not have enough energy in them, and you need to have mantra which you have your own energy in it. So mantras are very effective in terms of aligning our energy and also shifting our mindset, shifting our vibration. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but there are electromagnetic pads or sheets on which you can lie down to raise your vibration, to make yourself healthy, right? So same thing we can do with mantras. So that is part of my my protocol that I do, and I explain that to patients too. Okay, I think there was one question which yeah, Dr. Shaha, I think he's not around, or if anybody else wants to tell me what pre-genetics is, I can talk about that.
Yes,
Because I'm
thank
not
you.
sure.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, I have just given a call to Dr. Shah, but he is not there, I think. So
Okay, no
we
problem.
will later on talk about this. So thank you so much, ma'am. We are
Okay.
having such a wonderful session with you. And it is really helpful for the new practitioners to have the practice with Ayurveda as well as Western medicines. And thank you so much.
You're
As
most welcome. If anybody has any question face to face, feel free. Or even afterwards, if you have a question, feel free to send a message.
Okay, yes. It is request to all. If anyone have question, please put forward, or you may ask face to face. So now it is time to felicitate Dr. Ashish Paul, ma'am. Yes. So I request Dr. Gaurang Joshi sir, who is our organizer, and Dr. Bhairav Kulkarni sir to felicitate Dr. Paul, ma'am. She is having a very wonderful and very elaborative and very practical approach towards the all the lectures and towards the fertility aspect. So,
Congratulations, Dr. Ashish ji.
Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you very much for your insightful lecture on infertility, sharing your experience of your Western herbalist and Indian medicine. And you are doing an amazing job in the UK. I know it very well. And I'm really thankful from the bottom of my heart and wish to see you again on such a platform in the future. Wish you a very happy Diwali and happy New Year, and stay healthy and hope to
Just-
see you soon.
yes, sir.
Uh,
So before sum up,
I
Before
will
sum
be
up,
in London soon.
sir,
Huh?
I request you, Dr. Ashish Paul, ma'am,
Hmm.
you please appreciate our today's moderator, Dr. Yashasri Kulkarni, in this platform.
Okay, I do. I think she's doing.
Yeah, please.
thank you so much, ma'am.
Good.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. And before sum up, we have to go through our journey, which we have started from 5th of November. We have
Today,
very much.
yeah.
Yes,
Go
today
ahead.
is,
Go ahead.
yes, today is the 7th day of our webinar series. We have very much dynamic and eminent speakers throughout the series. I just recall all the speakers just by name. The first session was conducted by Dr. Shashikant Rai sir. Then next, the Dr. Eknath Kulkarni sir, Dr. Ashok Wali sir, Dr. Neeta Mhesikar ma'am, Mr. Fernando from Spain, Dr. Prerak Shah sir, Dr. Partap Chauhan sir, Dr. Mithilesh Kumar from Nepal, Dr. Vikram Chauhan sir, Dr. Aruna Patki ma'am, she was from USA. And for today's session, Dr. Lakshmikant Kotikar sir and Dr. Ashish Paul ma'am from UK. So throughout worldwide, the speakers have shared their views. So on behalf of organizers, I'm very thankful
Yes.
to all these eminent speakers, and also I thankful to all the organizers and associate partners for giving me this opportunity to moderate or to have this wonderful session. And one more reminder, tomorrow, that is on Dhanvantari Jayanti, there will be the award function which will get preponed. It will start on 6:30 p.m. So please stay tuned or stay with us from 6:30. And it's our honor to have the listeners about. I think there are some numericals. For first day, we have 1K. For second day, 1.3K views. For third day, 1.6K. As on, likewise, thousands of views are there for our session webinar series. So it is the success of our organizers. So I will congratulate both of them, Dr. Gaurang Joshi sir and Dr. Bhairav Kulkarni sir. So you are doing very wonderful job, and we like to with you next on. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all the speakers, Dr. Ashish Paul, Dr. Lakshmikant sir. All the speakers were delivered on this platform since last 7 days. We are really grateful to all. Without you, this was not possible. So on behalf of both of us, me and Dr. Bhairav Kulkarni, we are really thankful to all of you for sharing your expertise with us on this platform, and hope to see you again with such a wonderful webinar series, even practical seminars in the future after COVID. And join us tomorrow in Dhanvantari Jayanti celebration, Ayurveda Day celebration, and mega award function 6:30 onwards. So all are requested to join tomorrow on the Dhanvantari Jayanti and Dhanteras. So wish you all happy Dhanteras in advance. Jai Dhanvantari. Thank you, Indian Vaidya, for providing us this platform. Thank you all.
Thank
Jai
you.
Dhanvantari.
And I just addition, I thank you all our moderator
Yes.
team, Dr. Yashasri Kulkarni, Dr. Vrushali Chapekar,
Yes.
Dr.
Pulkit Bakshi. Pulkit Bakshi.
Pulkit Bakshi.
Dr. Sheetal Trivedi.
Yes.
Yes.
So all the
Dr.
organizers,
Sarang, Dr. Sarang, right.
Dr. Sarang Deshpande.
Yes.
Dr.
yes,
Ratna
yes.
Prabha Chaudhary, ma'am.
Ratna Prabha. All the moderators have done a wonderful job and hope to see you in the future as a speaker.
Yeah.
Jai
Okay.
Jai Dhanvantari, Jai.
Jai Dhanvantari,
Dhanvantari.
and thank you, our associate partners.
Okay.
We thankful all of you and happy Diwali. Keep
Happy Diwali,
stay
happy
with us.
Dhanteras, happy Dhanvantari
Tomorrow.
Jayanti to all.
Thank
See
you.
you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hasta mañana to all my Spanish friends.